I'm right now in the Czech Republic in a city called Brno, and today with Gemma we are going to share with you 10 tips on how to speak confidently to people with more power at work. So if you feel a little bit concerned about talking with senior people or people higher up or 3 levels higher up than you, this is the right event for you. And let's just dive deep into that. Gemma, please introduce yourself slightly or a little bit, and you can start with the first tip.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So as Iveta has lovely introduced, I am Gemma. My name is Gemma Keeling. And so I help design, tech, and creative professionals to achieve communication clarity and confidence. And right now, I currently live in Mexico. I'm in Querétaro in central Mexico, and I'm from the UK originally. So I want to get right into it. As we are doing today, we're looking at how to speak confidently. And a big part of that I see is all to do with our speed and how quickly we speak, so our pace. And many times, especially when we're speaking with important stakeholders or managers, we are quite nervous. And a nervous reaction is that we tend to speak more quickly. And when we slow down our speech, it's going to help immensely. Now, how slow is too slow? Of course, if you're speaking really slow, your manager will get quite impatient. But if you're speaking too quickly, it's going to be difficult to understand you. Speaking too quickly also puts pressure on yourself and gives your words less significance. So it really is finding that balance. So how fast should we be speaking? What is the pace? Well, most people speak at an average of around 4 to 5 syllables per second. So in a normal conversation, that speech rate is typically anywhere from 120 words to 160 words per minute. If you aren't sure how quickly you speak, there's plenty of apps that you can use, and you could just find, I will see if I can find one later to put in this group, but you can just quickly do a search and test yourself. How quickly am I speaking? And you're probably speaking maybe faster than you think. So the first tip really is to slow down. And what you should be aiming for is around 120, typically in a speech, when you're speaking, around 100 to 150 words per minute is so people will be able to understand you. And like I said, if you're speaking too quickly, it's going to be more difficult for you. You will get more nervous, and that once you get nervous, your confidence will go down. So that's the first tip. It's all about speed and your pace. So I will hand it back to Iveta.
Thank you, Gemma. Lovely tip. I just wrote it down. I will actually do this exercise myself, find an app and measure how quickly I speak, because I know I speak way too fast. And you should hear me in my language in Czech. That's even faster. But I will definitely do that. Thank you for the tip. It's lovely. And I will just build on what Gemma mentioned about the speed. And very often I hear my clients asking, like, I don't know how to answer, or I just want to give I feel I have to give answer to, to my boss or the upper management. Well, here's the thing. You can also say something in order to buy an extra time, meaning have a little more time, few more seconds to really think about your answer. And one of the ways how to do it is, if your boss or someone from the senior management asks you a question, you can say, that's a really good question, right? I just bought extra 3 seconds, right? So just by asking, that's a really good question, you can already start thinking about the answer. And the other way is to just literally say, let me have a think about it for a second. So don't be afraid to ask for an extra time to really think about the answer, because as Gemma mentioned, the worst thing is to just speed up and speak really, really fast, and then you get even more nervous, then you don't know what you are saying, and so on. So that's my first tip. Gemma, over to you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of buying time. So once, let's say, I love this because it leads on so nicely to my next point, is once you have that time to think, and especially is like, okay, you can compose yourself. Now, once you share your message, you want your message to be concise and speaking more concisely, because one thing is, as we mentioned, is we don't have a lot of time when it comes to business communication. And a lot of time, as in we have a lot of messages, we have all kinds of distractions. We want to get to the point as quickly as possible, which means being more concise. So a way to do that is, even if you're thinking a few seconds before speaking, or ideally, if you know you're meeting with your manager, let's say, thinking, what is the most important information that I want to share today with my manager? What is it? And then when you are concise in what you say, you will find that you are interrupted less. Because if you aren't really sure and you just keep using phrases like, as I said before, from my point of view, using these kind of like airy, they don't have a lot of meaning. It's taking up a lot of time, for one, and it's taking away from your key message. So get to the point, and also it will make you seem more credible in what you're saying. You are sure of yourself, and that can be more persuasive as well. So be concise and avoiding these words like, from my point of view, from my point, this is what I think, and just getting to the point in your speech. So that's my point. I will hand you back.
Thank you, Gemma. And it leads me nicely to my next point, which is don't beat around the bush. Just literally say what you want to say, because here's the thing, people who are higher up probably than you, senior managers, directors, VPs, C-suite, you name it, they are extremely busy. Okay, so if you want something from them, usually you talk to them because you want something from them, or because they ask you to deliver information on your project or what you are working on and so on. Just say that. Don't beat around the bush. You need more money, more budget. Ask them straight away, look, I'm meeting with you today because we are concerned about ABC and we need an extra 20,000 on this. We need to hire more people, right? Like, just go straight into that. Why are you talking to them? If you need a decision from them, just ask straight away. You know, they don't have time. Bear it in mind, always number one rule, who are you talking to? You are talking to people higher up. Don't waste their time. They don't like that.
I love that. Yeah, it's honest and true. So one thing is, when you're actually speaking, an important thing is your articulation and pitch. So it does link back to your speed. And one thing is, when you are speaking, you are saying the words that you want to say. So you want to be articulating them and saying each word individually. So that means starting and stopping for all of the individual words, because that will show more confidence in what you're saying. And when you are nervous, you tend to slow your words a little bit more, you become a little mumbling. And one thing that you can do is put more effort into your articulation. It's a lot of these things of thinking of what to say before, and when you're saying, it is helpful to slow down, but also articulate the words. And a way that you can do this is, I mean, this is for our pitch as well. And I know we've spoken before in a few of our lives about this, about how your pitch really, how high or low you speak. And to improve your articulation, you can vary this going up in your voice and emphasizing the important points, because going back to what Iveta said, is everyone's busy, but what is the main point? Well, you highlight that with your voice. Like, if you know that you want more budget, you'll highlight the key words, because yes, people are distracted. What is it that you want from me? Okay, and then it's highlighting and making sure that, one, it will be easier to understand you if you're articulating and really focusing on saying the beginning of the words, the ending of the words, but also it will help, you know, for them to better understand what you're saying as well. So articulation and pitch is a key focus.
Love it, Gemma. And what came up for me is like, if you imagine a newspapers, right? Like some people read still newspapers, right? Like there are the headlines or there are the key parts of that article are in bold or in large letters, right? So that's the same thing what you are saying. It's like make sure that you emphasize the words, the key parts of that pitch. Because the truth is also that we think that the other person hears everything we are saying, but that's not true. You are the sender and they are the receiver, but you can't count with the fact that they will consume 100% of what you are saying. So that's a great tip. Love it, Gemma. Thank you for sharing. All right, my next tip, guys. When you are sharing bad news with upper management, again, don't beat around the bush. Just say what's going on, okay? Just say straightforward, okay, look, this is what's happening with the project. We are way behind. This is the reason. Just go straight into that, right? No burger, no like this is positive, this is negative, this is positive. No, you don't want to waste their time, so go straight into that. But this, keep in mind, or I should say, and keep this in mind, tell them the next steps. Meaning tell them how are you going to handle this situation, because your boss, your company pays you for the stuff that they don't want to do, right? They delegate you things and they need to know that you are capable of managing the project, managing the people, that you are capable of not wasting their time, basically, right? So even if there are bad things going on, straight away tell them what's happening and next steps. How are you gonna resolve that, right? So this is my tip. Over to you, Gemma.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so for the next one, it's interesting you were saying about this negative and positive language. I think it's a slightly different thing, but especially when it comes to written communication, I really want to highlight this. I know it's about speaking confidently, and it does apply to spoken communication, but it's also in written where you may see some potential issues. And it's because you're using potentially negative language. And when it's in writing, it's even harder to interpret that it can sound quite passive aggressive. And obviously we don't want to do that. It might not be our intention, maybe sometimes, but we don't want to, that can really lead to conflict and tension. And you might not want to show, you don't have that intention at all. But for example, I'm going to give some examples. You might say, perhaps you missed my previous email. That kind of tone. Or for example, as we previously discussed on numerous occasions. Now that's a little bit passive aggressive. And in speaking, this is, even though the words aren't necessarily negative, it can come across. And that is to do with your tone and many other things. But in writing, in written communication, it can be, correct me if I'm wrong, or it's almost coming across as potentially aggressive. And I think, yes, it's important not to beat around the bush, but it's also being aware of how some of the phrases that you use, especially in written communication, can come across as potentially passive aggressive or aggressive. So it's used, instead of, for example, saying something like, correct me if I'm wrong, or as I previously said, instead of saying correct me if I'm wrong, you can say, I believe the correct way to handle this is to do this, and actually saying more in a positive way, this is what I believe we should do, instead of this correct me if I'm wrong, that can come off as quite negative. So that's an example for you.
I love this. Thanks so much for sharing this. And I reckon that everyone who is watching this can relate to this, that, using Slack or Hangout, Google Hangout or Team Meets, or how do you call that? Or Teams, Microsoft Teams. Oh my God, right? Like there's so much missed in chat communication and email communication, because we can hear the tone of voice, we can see the expression of the other person. So this is so good, avoiding the negativity, and especially in writing, or being mindful of that. Love that. Okay, the other tip that I want to share, which comes up quite often with my clients, when they are talking with someone higher up, they say, like they ask me question and I don't know the answer, what should I do? Well, just be honest. Just say, you know what, that's a great question, right? But to be honest with you, I don't have the answer. And if you need a little bit more time to perhaps find the answer to their question, perhaps check, some data or talk to a couple of colleagues or from someone from a different department, just say to the senior manager or director, you know what, this is a great question. I don't have the answer right now, but I will find out and I will come back to you via email by tomorrow, 2 p.m. Does it work for you? Okay. So you are answering the question, but be honest. The worst thing that you can do is just to pretend that you know. That so much confusion can come up, and sooner or later it's like a ticking bomb, right? Sooner or later someone, they will find out that you don't know, right? So be honest, transparent, and again, tell them how you're going to answer the question.
Yeah, that has come up, a similar situation where my clients will tell me, I'm really embarrassed to admit that I don't know. And so I guess, like, in that situation, do you have any to add to that? Because I know, like, for me, I'm completely with you, as I agree about always being honest. And like you said, that ticking time bomb is, it would be obvious at some point, maybe not right away, that you don't know the answer. And I know, like, for example, when I have learned as a teacher, I did a lot of teacher training. And if a student ever asked me, teacher, what's this, the answer? And it was the same for me. I was like, oh, I don't know this answer, and I should know this because I'm the teacher. I should know this because I'm a professional. And it's realizing that you don't know everything, and that's okay. But I don't know if you have any specific kind of advice around that, because it is something I would love to hear as well, what you think. But I think it's that awareness of you aren't expected to know everything, and admitting that is, I don't have the answer to that, but I'm willing to learn, and having that kind of growth mindset of coming across is like even more important than, admitting that you're wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but I don't know this and it's okay. That's my side, my kind of feeling, but I would love to know what your advice is in that situation as well, is that embarrassment of not knowing.
You know what, Gemma, great question. And I think it's just about really what you said, having the growth mindset and really being like owning that, like owning the fact that you don't know everything, because your boss was there or your managers were exactly the same place like you. They didn't know. They are human beings, so I think they will way more appreciate if you've got the the guts to actually, the courage to actually say, what, I don't know, maybe I should know, but what, like how do I, how can I learn from this? Like what can I, who can tell me, I'm willing to correct myself, having this sort of attitude, I think is the best. And then it obviously depends on different situations. Perhaps we could add a sentence or two or question or two to handle it better, but it really depends on particular situations.
Yeah, I love that. I think so. I love that advice. I'm glad we're on the same with that. It's always good to hear another perspective, though.
Did we share 5 already?
I think that's 5. I mean, I do have another bonus one.
Go for it.
Well, it was just in case. I like to have a few things up my sleeve. But I guess this one is especially related to culture. And if you're working, especially with British and American managers, especially if you're, I work with a lot of non-natives. And in some cultures, eye contact has very different meanings, but eye contact is especially important in many cultures, but especially for British and American people, it shows that you're being honest and truthful. And for some societies, I know that direct eye contact can show like a lack of respect, but it's not necessarily the case. And good eye contact during a conversation really shows that I'm being honest with you. You can trust me. And of course, you want your managers to know that you're being honest. And eye contact, of course, you don't want to stare at someone, but being able to, purposely look at that person, especially if you're in a one-on-one meeting, even on Zoom, like looking at the camera or however you're communicating in a virtual way, But that is considered so important, especially culturally, for people from the UK and also in the US. It just shows that you can trust me, and it also helps to earn respect by looking at the person, which isn't the case in all cultures, which is why I wanted to kind of bring it up. I know we have people from many different cultures. I know for you, it'd be interesting to hear what you say about this, if it's similar or if it's the same. But it's especially important to make eye contact to show you can trust me, and being honest, and to build a relationship. And it's quite a simple thing to do, but I think it's quite easy to forget, especially if you're using a computer. I'm always aware, like, oh, I really shouldn't be looking at the camera. I should be looking at the screen. It should be looking at not the picture, but the camera itself. Whether that's one-on-one, like virtual communication, or in real life. So yeah, that's my bonus tip.
Thank you for sharing that, Gemma. And to answer your question, what I think about it, like I truly think this is so important. Like eye contact is. I would love to actually hear from you. Like, what cultures have you found out that direct eye contact might be a little bit? It's a disrespect. Did you say sign of disrespect?
It can, well, I think it depends on the power. No, I can't speak for all different cultures, but I know in some, like especially if you're speaking with a manager, I know that in certain Asian cultures, in Japan, I know someone who has said, like, if you're speaking with someone that's senior than you, you might not necessarily look them in the eye. I know that's common in, I don't know if it's just in Japan, but I know in, for example, in Thailand, and there's many particular countries where it has different meanings. And like the older person or the more senior person can look at the child or look at, but for you, if you are speaking with a senior, you might, want to be more inclined to look away. Yeah, I don't know if that's in the cultures that I can bring up. It's typically in more of an Asian culture, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Super interesting. I actually thought about that you will say Japan for whatever reason, but I've never been there, but just thought about that culture, but it's really interesting. I wrote it down. I will do a little bit of research. This is really interesting. And to that, I would say 100%, guys, if you are working with Western countries, make sure you are looking into their eyes. A client of mine asked me last week, actually, like, what shall we do on Zoom, right? Shall we stare into the camera, or shall we, right? Now I'm looking at the camera, now I'm looking at you. Well, I don't have the answer to this question, actually, because when I'm talking with people virtually, I love seeing them, because I love to read the room, their face, making sure that what I'm saying, they understand, or do they look confused? Even if I've got more people on a Zoom call, I ask them politely, hey, could you turn on your camera, please? I just want to connect with you. So to me, it's it's not natural to look into the camera when having an online meeting. It's just not, because I don't want to look there if Gemma is here. Like, it just feels really weird to me personally. But a little hack that I want to share with you is, because this is very common it's fairly common that people find it difficult to look into the other person's eyes. So what you can do, a little hack, when it's in person meeting, you can look straight in between the eyebrows. I don't know if I've shared it on our last call, but look straight between the eyebrows of the other person. If it makes you nervous to look into their eyes, okay? So if it's, for example, your boss or someone really higher up, look straight there. Why? Because the person will think that you are looking straight into their eyes, even though you are looking between eyebrows. You can give it a go, try it with your colleague or friend or your spouse, and literally look in between eyebrows and ask, hey, where I'm looking right now? And like 99.9%, they will tell you that you are looking straight into their eyes. So it's a little slight hack. And with this, we are up on time. Gemma, I think it would be lovely to say really quick goodbye. Perhaps if you want to share where people can learn more from you, or if you've got any sort of freebie where people can go.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you would like some support with communicating your ideas and building your confidence in speaking, and especially if you're a non-native English speaker, then I have a podcast. It's called The Design of Communication, and there's new episodes every Thursday that come out. So that's always a good free place to start. And I offer a lot of guides every week with the different materials. But if you would like to work a little bit more closely, I do have also a community, the Fluent Club. There's currently a waiting list. It's fluentspeakers.co.uk/club. And you put your name on the wait list, and it's opening up this month. So that's also if you wanted to kind of join the community, specifically if you're a design or tech professional. But yeah, feel free to reach out, send me a message. I'm always happy to answer your questions and to get in touch. So yeah, thank you.
Love it, the Fluent Club. That's such a good name. Love it. And I will just end with my little invitation. If you guys feel, or if you are the one who is feeling a little bit unsure about speaking with people at work, delivering presentation, or even what we discussed today with Gemma, speaking with people higher up, you want to feel more confident, more with ease or in ease, go to speakleadgrow.com. You can book a 15-minute consultation with me. We can see what kind of challenges you are facing at work and whether and how I could help you. All right, so go to speakleadgrow.com and I will see you there. Thank you so much, Gemma. You have a wonderful day ahead over in Mexico. And I will see you probably on LinkedIn very soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.